So after the Bogus Journey, a few years after that, you did the movie Freaked.
Yeah.
How did that come about? You were the writer and the director on that.
Yeah, I did. Me and my partner Tom Stern, we had that show on MTV, The Idiot Box, and it was really successful for MTV. It was the first live action series they had, and we kind of parlayed that into a movie. So we kind of wrote a theatrical sort of Idiot Box styled story, which was Freaked, which we actually originally wrote with Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers to do as a really down and dirty, aggro, kind of low budget musical horror comedy. A very popular genre, especially with the Butthole Surfers at the helm.
Right, right.
So you can imagine how easy that was to sell. And after a year of getting nowhere with that, we kind of retooled it as more of a PG-13 thing and pitched it to Fox, and they bought it. So after Bill and Ted 2, we went right into production on Freaked, which was basically the Idiot Box movie. It was an enormous amount of fun. That's definitely the most fun I've ever had on a job of that size. It was just insane. We had a healthy budget and a really amazing crew, amazing effects teams. It was a good time.
And Mr. T.
And Mr. T in a dress. Yeah, all of that and Mr. T in a dress. Can't go wrong. Yeah.
How did you manage to get such a well-known macho kind of guy into drag? Is that something he does maybe off camera normally, or?
No, not at all. The funny thing is he would do interviews while we were shooting for Entertainment Tonight or whatever, and he never dressed in the T regalia, right? Ever, like all the gold, the bling and all that, the wrist cuffs and all that. But when he did these interviews, we would walk by his dressing room and he would be in full T mode. So I think that was somewhat of a reaction to having to get out of that regalia and into heels, but it was tweaking him a little bit. But he had a really good sense of humor about himself. He's a really really cool, smart dude, and so he was up for mucking around with his image, and he thought it was funny to muck around with his image. So he was really fun to work with on the set. He's absolutely hilarious. He talks nonstop, and he's got a lot of great stories. So it was great to have him. We felt blessed that he said yes.
And we've been trying to get him on the show, but he's hard to track down.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot more private as he's gotten older. I know that's true. He's certainly on the radar a lot less.
Well, next time you see him, tell him we're looking for him.
I will, yeah.
But that movie, Freaked, that has become quite a cult classic after the years have gone by too, right?
Yeah, it's been really great. We've always had a lot of support for it amongst the audience that we made it for, which is basically crazy people like us. And over the years, it's really gained a lot of following. It had a lot of support from cable. HBO has played it continually since we made it, and we did a huge festival run with it when it was finished. But then a couple of years ago, Anchor Bay did a really nice DVD release with a lot of extras and commentary and bonus stuff, and that's really been a good marker for us because it's a good way to see the movie. It's had longevity, which is great. I don't think there's anyone's in danger of there being a Freak too, but but it has had a lot of longevity, which is fantastic.
You quit acting, didn't you, after that movie or shortly after?
I did. I sure did. Yeah. I was really. It wasn't like I had to quit. I had been doing more and more directing since I'd gotten out of NYU, and by the time Bill and Ted, even between Bill and Ted 1 and 2, all I was really doing was directing. I was acting in the Idiot Box, but primarily directing and writing. So most of my time was after Bill and Ted was spent writing and directing. So I just kind of kept doing what I was doing at that point and what I was focused on, which was shooting.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of music videos, right? Like for the Chili Peppers and stuff?
Yeah, I've been doing, I've been shooting commercials and music videos for years and years and years. I stopped doing a lot of videos a little while ago because that industry kind of died on the creative end. it became much more corporate.
Yeah.
Which made them a lot less creatively satisfying. So I sort of pulled back on doing them unless it was just for smaller artists that I, really saw eye to eye with creatively or just wanted to work with. But, shooting commercials and other stuff like that, writing movies and all of that jazz is stuff I've been doing since then. So.
Are you back acting now? Did you come back or?
Not really. I mean, it's something that I'll do every once in a while. Like I don't have some really allergic reaction to acting. It's just I don't normally have the time. And if somebody wanted me to do something that I thought was interesting, then I'll jump in and do it. But it's pretty rare, But I keep myself fairly open-minded. But it's pretty rare. I mean, I'm really busy with my other work, so it's never something that I've wanted to supersede my other stuff. But you never know.
So what do you got going on right now? What sort of things are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm directing a remake of a movie called The Gate.
Yeah,
it's Ton's favorite.
Which, yeah, it's a great movie. Was for those who don't know, it was an '80s kind of Amblin style kids horror movie. It was PG-13. It was only kids. There's really no adults in it at all. And kind of in the style of Goonies and Poltergeist. So it's a great remake idea because the technologies have come along that can really, really impact that idea. It's basically a monster in the house type of movie. It's, a group of kids left alone for a weekend to unlock a gate to hell in their backyard and have to close it and force back the demons that are spewing out of it before all of humanity is devoured.
Yep.
And
pretty standard.
The original. Yeah, exactly. Your usual weekend. It's just a great, fun kind of fairy, nasty fairy tale, really. And it lends itself well. I do a lot of work in special effects. I always have, and it lends itself well to that kind of stuff. And I love doing stuff with kids, and I love doing stuff that kind of blends scary stuff and funny stuff because the movie has a lot of humor as well. But it's got teeth on it. There's some nasty things that happen. So it's fun. It's been a really fun project to be developing. Been working on it for about 2 years.
Are you doing Rock and Roll High School remake too? I think I read. Or
well, that was more of an assignment. I wrote that for Howard Stern's company. I pitched him he bought the title. He bought that and Porky's, and I really thought that there could be room for a really great modern spin on the Rock and Roll Rebellion story in school.
Yeah.
It would be very, very different than the original, what I pitched them. And I love the original, but the original is essentially a Ramones movie. There's not a whole lot else to it, and it's great, but obviously the Ramones are gone. So, that's not a story you could tell now. But I really just wrote that on assignment. I wrote that for them. I love what I wrote, but it's up to those guys whether they want to make a movie out of that title or not. And so far he hasn't made either of those, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. It's kind of out of my hands.
So who's in the lead role now? Is it Sweaty Sax Guy and the Ken Dolls instead of the Ramones?
If I had my way, it would be Sweaty Sax Guy would be in everything that I did. But I'm not sure anyone would want to see him covered in sweat anymore. But maybe. You never know. No, I didn't want to really do it with a band. I didn't really feel like that's kind of how music is rebellious these days. I don't think we have anything like the punk new wave movement that that spawned that movie. We don't really have that culturally at the moment. We have kind of commodified versions of it, but the rebellion, the sort of youth revolt that goes on in music now is mostly via downloading and the actual the much more grassroots and sort of the kids taking distribution back into their own hands. So, which I think is awesome and interesting and certainly compelling, but very different than the culture of the 60s and 70s.
Well,
I'm actually working on a movie about Napster as well, which is, focused much more on that whole idea of how the youth is revolting now,
Okay. Well, man, do you have any parting words for us before we let you go?
I don't think so. It was cool to talk to you guys. You're in one of the coldest places on earth, and my hat's off to you.
Could you call Ton a medieval dickweed just for old time's sakes?
I'll do that at the drop of a hat. Yeah.
man. Awesome.
Great, you guys.
I think that should do it, man. Thanks a lot for letting us talk to you today.
Yeah, no sweat. And have a good one. Be happy to come back once stuff's cooking along.
All right, we'll be out there looking for you and Sweaty Sax Guy. Hopefully you can work together again in the near future.
One can only live in hope.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.